Hey there, let's pick up with a wild robot. Chapter 46, Flight. Hello, bears. My name is Roz. Oh, we know who you are, said the sister bear. Her voice dropped with sarcasm. We are very happy to see you again. Yeah? Well, we're very happy to see you again, echoed the brother. Why do you always repeat what I say? Said the sister to the brother. It's so annoying. I was just backing you up. Let me do the talking. Fine. You don't have to be so mean about it. The bickering bears were interrupted by the robot's friendliest voice. With whom do I have the pleasure of speaking? How rude of us, said the sister bear. My name is Nettle, and this is my brother Thorn. I'm not little, snapped Thorn under his breath. It is lovely to meet you both, said Roz, but I am afraid I really must be going. And I'm afraid we can't let you do that, Nettle replied, stepped into Rose's path. My brother and I, we don't like monsters. I am not a monster. I am a robot. Whatever you are, we don't like you, said Thorn. We hear you've become very comfortable with the island, said Nettle. Now we're going to make you very uncomfortable. Yeah, we're going to make you very uncomfortable. Stop repeating me, Thorn. Poor Roz was in serious trouble. The bears were closing in on her, but she couldn't run, she couldn't hide, she couldn't fight. The robot didn't know what to do. But before she could do anything, there was a loud squawk and a streak of feathers. Stay away from my mama! Bright Bill swooped down and skidded to a stop between the robot and the bears. So the rumors are true, Nettle said. There really is a runty gosling who thinks a robot is his mother. How could anyone be so stupid? Do yourself a favor, Gosling, and fly away before you get hurt. She is right, Bright Bill. Please let me handle this. But the gosling stood his ground. He spread his wings, and he hopped around, ready to defeat his mother. The bears roared with laughter. Then, with a flick of a paw, Nettle sent Bright Bill tumbling off over the ground, over and over, until he flopped onto his back and stared up at the sky, stunned. This is our island, startled Nettle. And it's time for you to go, growled Thorn. Roz made herself as big as possible. She banged her chest. She roared wild, angry sounds. But the bears were not intimidated. They roared right back. And then they attacked. Nettle pulled Roz into her fierce bear hug, while Thorn clawed at her legs. The robots tried to shake free, but the bears would not let go of the prey, not this time. A cloud of dust bloomed out from the trio, and they thrashed closer to the edge of the cliff. All of a sudden, something burst out from the trees, open cliff top. Mama Bear. She was gigantic, like a mountain of golden fur. Then she was ferocious. It seemed this world would be the end of our robot. But Mother Bear wasn't there to join the fight. She was there to break it up. Nettle, Thorn, get over here this instant. The young bears stood and listened to their mother. Instead, they pretended not to hear her. Nettle slashed at Roz's body, and Thorn began to wrestle with her foot. He grabbed her foot with both paws, and he forced her up to the ground. Then, with every ounce of his strength, he twisted the foot around. Reader, the following events happened very quickly. First, there was a strange thwomp sound from the robot's right foot, popped out of her leg, and snailed through the air. Then everyone toppled over. Nettle, Roz fell sideways on the edge, and Thorn fell backwards and tumbled right off the cliff. Do you know what the most terrible sound in the world is? It's the howl of a mother bear when she watches her bear cub tumble off a cliff. Mother Bear's howl was so startling that it snapped Bright Bill right out of his stupor. Her howl was so powerful that it shook Roz's entire body. Her howl was so loud that the animals heard it clear across the island, but there was no reply from Thorn. Mother Bear's howl slowly faded, and she wilted to the ground. Roz watched as her detached foot sailed over the edge and plummeted down to the shore below. It fell right past the circling seagull, smashed off the rock, and disappeared into the waves. And then that's when the robot noticed something furry dangling from the cliffside. Thorn, his full weight, hung from a tree that was rooted in the rock wall. He gripped the tree tightly with his jaws and looked up at Roz with wide, frightening eyes. I see Thorn, shouted Roz. Grab my legs, quickly! Mother Bear and Nettle scrambled up to their feet. Each bear took a leg in their mouth, and together they slowly lowered Roz head first down to the cliff. Thorn whimpered through the clenched teeth and watched the robot approach, and then he felt her strong arms wrap around him, and he heard her booming voice holler, "Pull us up!" Thorn let go of the branch and cried, "Please don't drop me, Roz. I don't want to die." "Do not worry," said the robot. "I will not drop you." For the next moment seemed to drag on and on. Mother Bear and Nettle kept pulling on Roz's leg, and more of the robot slowly came into view until the furry golden head appeared, and Thorn leaped into the embrace of his family. Chapter 47, The Parade. "Does it hurt?" Bright Bill touched the smooth surface where his mother's foot used to be. "No, it does not, but it will be different for me to walk." The bears huddled behind the gosling and stared at Roz's stump of a leg. Nobody understood how a foot could pop off like that, or how Roz could remain so calm. "Roz, I'm so sorry my cubs attacked you. Sometimes they're completely out of control." "It's okay. I know how they are at this age. I can't thank you enough for saving Thorn. I promise my cubs will never bother you again. Isn't that right?" "Yes, Mother," said Nettle and Thorn together. The robots tried to walk. She bobbled up and down on uneven legs, which worked well enough on the flat surface of the cliff top. But once she entered the forest, her problem became clear. The smooth stump had no grip, and she slipped around on the forest floor. So Roz tried hopping on the good foot. She took a few crunch hops and clanged in the tree trunks. One more few hops, and she crashed under the underground. "I'm really sorry I broke your foot," said Thorn. "I forgive you," said Roz. Whenever she was capable of true forgiveness is anybody's guess. But there were nice words, and Thorn felt better when she heard them. It looks like I will have to crawl home," said Roz. "Nonsense," said Mother Bear. "I have a better idea." Mother Bear lay flat on the ground with her cubs boosted Roz onto her back, and then Bright Bill fluttered onto the bear's broad shoulders, and that is where they both safely aboard. The group set off through the forest. The robot was heavy, but there was no trouble for this great family. Mother Bear strolled along as if it were perfectly normal for a robot to be riding on her back. They made quite the grand procession, all walking like that, and the procession became even grander as the deer and the raccoons and the birds of all kinds and all other animals joined in. Everyone wanted to go see Mother Robot riding a Mother Bear. The group wound up its way past the ancient trees and over the rolling meadows and through the babbling streams, collected more of cautious animals as they went. It was the greatest parade wildlife had ever seen, and it landed the way out our robot Roz. But the parade couldn't last forever, and the sun went down, and the other animals began drifting away one by one, and when the parade finally arrived at the nest, only the original members remained. "Here we are. Now we had better get crawling out of our way home." "Yes, that would be wonderful," said the robot. "I cannot imagine a better ending of the day to this. Thank you very much." "Yeah, it was amazing," squeaked the gosling. "My friends won't believe me when I tell them I rode across the island on the back of a bear." "I'm glad you enjoyed yourself," Mama Bear smiled. "It's the least we could do after the trouble these two caused." Her smile became a frown, and she glared at her cubs, who suddenly took great interest in the pebble on the ground. It was late, and it had been a long, difficult day for everyone, so the bears said goodbye and headed back to the cave, and Bright Bill and Roz stood in the garden and watched their friends lumber away. It was, as the gosling said, "Mama, do you think you'll ever walk again?" "I'm not sure," said the robot, "but I do know who I could ask for help. Now get ready for bed." Chapter 48, New Foot. Mr. Beaver squinted at Roz's stump. "I've never built a foot before." He stroked his whiskers and muttered to himself, "There are really 3 problems to solve. The foot needs to grip the ground, it needs to be durable, and there needs to be an issue of fixing the leg. I might have to consult a few friends." "Will she ever walk again?" said Bright Bill. "What's that?" The beaver was lost in a thought. "Oh, do not worry. We'll sit back and leave everything to me. I love a challenge." Mr. Beaver plucked to the pond and was ready to a while later, rolling a great section of the tree trunk. "Say hello to your new foot," he said, slapping the wood with his tail. "Hello, new foot." said the robot. That's the spirit. The beauty is, from one of the hardest trees that I ever chewed. I just need to make a few modifications. Mr. Beaver placed the piece of wood next to Roz. He squinted, repositioned the piece. He squinted some more. With his claws, he marked different spots of the wood, and then he put his big chompers to work. The beaver chewed and gnawed and carved up the pieces of wood, turning it over and over in his paws. Chit-Chat looked down from the branch and chattered away through quiet moments. This reminds me of a time when that fox clenched a lizard by the tail, and somehow the lizard's tail fell out, and he got away, and later I saw that lizard, and he got a new tail, and now Ross is going to get a new foot, and everything will be fine. The wooden foot took shape, and before long Mr. Beaver sat standing beside a beautiful carving that resembled a boot. He tried to slide it over Roz's stump, but the opening was too small, and he scraped out more wood until it was a perfect fit. Very good, he said, squinting out the wood chips. My friends should be arriving any minute with the few things we'll need. And there they are now. I'd like you to meet Bumpkin, Lumpkin, and Rumpkin. I can call them the Fuzzy Bandits. The 3 fat raccoons shuffled into the garden, dragging their tangle of vines behind them. Good day, said Bumpkin. Good day, said Lumpkin. Good day, said Rumpkin. Now you might already know this, reader, but the raccoons have very nimble hands, and the Fuzzy Bandits use their skillful tie in those vines around the robot's legs around the new foot. The vines caught nicely on all the dings and dents and scrapes, and once they were tied good and tight, the beaver threw back his head and hollered, "Dunk chap!" "We could use your assistance." There was silence, and 3 quick taps echoed down in the forest canopy. That'll be him," said Mr. Beaver, smiling. A few cautious woodpeckers swooped down. "You called?" the woodpecker voice. Indeed I did. Everyone, this is my woodpecking pal, Thunktat. Now, Thunky, we need you to do some tree resin, some real sticky stuff. Can you help us out?" "Of course I can," said the woodpecker. "I've got the perfect pine right here." Thunktat hopped up into the crusty old pine tree and pecked a few deep holes in the bark. Thick, syrupy resin began oozing out of the trunk. Mr. Beaver scooped up handfuls of the resin and smeared them all over the wooden foot and the vines until everything was glistening with stickiness. And when the resin dried, and a short time later, Roz's foot was finished. "This is wonderful," said the robot as she strolled around the garden. "I'm as good as new." Mr. Beaver and Thunktat and the Fuzzy Bandits went away feeling pretty happy with themselves. They'd done a very nice thing. But it was the first wooden foot any of them had ever made, and within a week the vines were coming undone and the foot was sliding loose. So they returned, determined to get it right. They found an even harder wood and even tougher vines. They experimented with the resin, heating it in the fire, letting it boil and thicken, and becoming an indestructible glue. They kept tinkering with their design until finally Roz and herself and her wooden foot she could rely on. "Huzzah!" Mr. Beaver rapped his knuckles on the new and improved creation. "I knew we'd get it right." Roz moved slower than before, and she even had a slight limp, but she was back to her old self, and that was a relief to everyone, including Bright Bill. We'll stop there.